Welcome back, Acolytes of the Force, to our archives. We've been expecting you. A good portion of our recent content has been dedicated to discussing some of the most powerful and mysterious beings in all of Star Wars lore. The galaxy is a big place, and the Force is even bigger. From the depths of history come supernatural entities that we do not fully comprehend. Our holocrons are often incomplete on information regarding these many amazing godlike beings. What we want to do today, though, my friends, is wrap all of this up nicely with a good old-fashioned ranked list of the most powerful entities in the entire Star Wars galaxy. Essentially, who are the most powerful beings that exist in all of Star Wars lore? For this list, though, we will have a few prerequisites. The first being, we are exclusively focusing on the most powerful mythical beings of the galaxy, so we won't be adding Grandmaster Luke Skywalker or Valkorion to this list, only the deities. Although beings like Luke, Valkorion, and Sidious are incredibly powerful, again, we are discussing essentially Force gods today, which are on a completely different level, and oftentimes separated from entire galactic events. 2, there isn't really a possible way to put them in any specific order, as some are often equally as powerful as others, and hardly any of them can be killed at all, so we will instead be categorizing them into tiers. And 3, we are going to be covering the entities that have been officially recognized as either canon or legends, as according to Lucasfilm. Therefore, we will not be covering anything from the Supernatural Encounters novel, as that has not been officially licensed by Lucasfilm and is therefore non-canon, so you won't see any beings like the Supreme Maker here. However, if you would like a video done all about supernatural encounters and all of its mysteries, then just comment your vote down below. Now, my friends, students of the Force, grab your meditation cushions and let us begin. Let us begin with Tier 3. Tier 3 is the category where we will be dropping Force sensitives that have immense, nigh immeasurable power, but that can still be killed. Immortal beings such as the ones and the Bendu belong in this category, as they are technically immortal but have physical forms that can be destroyed. Starting with the Bendu, we were first introduced to this very interesting creature in Star Wars Rebels, as he lives on the planet known as Atollon, far out of the way of all galactic conflicts. Claiming to remain totally neutral in the Force, the Bendu helps out all Force sensitives who come needing help in exchange for knowledge, usually in the form of holocrons. Bendu is in total balance in the Force, able to use the light and dark side with relative ease in tandem. We see his great influence over both sides of how he effortlessly opens both Jedi and Sith holocrons, and desires to feast on the knowledge of both of their orders. Whenever Kanan offers the Sith holocron to the Bendu, the beast is immediately interested, showing that he enjoys knowledge wherever it comes from. Whenever the Bendu gets upset, we see his incredible influence over the Force in both the living and cosmic sides, as he is able to morph his entire body to disappear and travel within a cloud or a Force storm. By the time that Thrawn brings the battle to Atollon and the Empire, Bendu shows his true power in the Force by becoming a physical storm. We have seen a few be able to conjure violent storms in the past, namely in Legends, but Bendu is able to literally become one. His vision of the future is clearer than almost any other character in all of the Star Wars mythos, and he is able to tell a prophecy about almost anyone he comes in contact with. Thrawn and the Empire managed to shoot him out of the sky with artillery firepower, and Bendu did crash down in a blaze of fire and glory. However, before Thrawn could finish the job, Bendu was gone, vanished into the Force, while cackling at Thrawn. Many have speculated that this was the Bendu's death, and it may very well could have been. However, I'm not entirely convinced that he is dead here, considering how he had already shown his ability to appear and disappear at will. The next in this category or tier is of course the ones of Mortis. These 3 hardly need any explanation, as in the Clone Wars we have seen their immense and near immeasurable power. Many have speculated that the ones were gods of the Force, which is not an unreasonable conclusion to come to. However, it is ultimately incorrect. The daughter, who is in the embodiment of the light, and the son, who is the embodiment of the dark, and the father, who keeps the balance between both of his children. These 3 represented the current state of the Force, but had no rule over it. The ones were an interesting bunch, as despite being millennia old, they were often tempestuous and emotional. The son and daughter constantly feuded and warred with one another despite knowing it was for the greater good of the galaxy that they kept the peace. The father was wise and knew all, yet he acted rashly and without compassion during his trials with Anakin when he tried to force the Chosen One into a position that Anakin did not want to be in. The ones exhibit incredible command over the Force, with incredible abilities over Force lightning, Force healing, transformation, interstellar flight, and near invincible levels of Terminus. However, I do not think that the ones are entirely immortal, as we have been led to believe in the past. The ones aren't gods, simply a race of people distantly related to the Celestials, these beings that seem to be immune to most mortal ways of damage, but can still die of old age. They do in fact age, just much more slowly than any other being in the galaxy, as seen by the father who was weakened in his older years, and had to bring Anakin in order to take his place and maintain balance. He openly admitted that being on his death's door. The only weapon that can actually kill any of the ones though, is known as the Dagger of Mortis. Speaking of the Celestials, or the ancestors of the ones of Mortis, we decided to place their race in this tier as well, despite the fact that we don't really know all that much about them, other than they were the race who essentially ruled over the Star Wars galaxy in the dawn of its creation. It has been theorized that the Celestials are the ones responsible for the great hyperspace barrier that borders the galaxy itself, and seals off the unknown regions. Despite ruling the galaxy for a very long time, one day the Celestials mysteriously vanished. The only traces of their race is the grand machines that they built and the species of the people populating some of the deep core worlds that still have legends of celestial existence. The ancient Rakatan Empire were slaves to the Celestials before leading a revolt against them and creating the Infinite Empire. It is said that what happened to the Celestials and their Rakatans certainly did not kill them all. The timeline of events has been lost to history though. However, it is very likely that the Celestials all went back to wherever they came from. My personal theory is that they are an intergalactic race like the Yuzhong Vong, which is why they set up the Great Hyperspace Barrier in the first place, in order to protect against extragalactic threats such as the Vong, Nal, or others. The last being we want to mention on this tier will be Abeloth, a character that we have been talking about extensively as of recent. Abeloth is a hard one to pin down, as she is sort of on the line. It is possible for her to be defeated, however, we do not entirely know if she can be killed. Just recently, we did a video on the only way to kill Abeloth, where we mentioned that Luke Skywalker theorized that perhaps the Dagger of Mortis could kill her like it did the ones. Unfortunately, that is entirely speculation on behalf of Luke, as Abeloth proved her superiority over the ones early on in her life by demonstrating her power and will over them, bringing both the son and the daughter to their knees. Abeloth's power in the Force cannot be understated, as she has exhibited such abilities as shapeshifting, possession, Force lightning, Terminus, mind control, and Force alter. She has been known to traverse the galaxy by walking through an alternate dimension and access people through said dimension. Abeloth's powers in the dark side are described as so potent that she is in tune with the shifts in the Force, which is what allows her to escape every couple thousand years. When Abeloth does escape, her mere presence in the galaxy throws it into turmoil. On one planet, she unleashed all of her rage, causing weapons, glass, and other sharp objects to seek out everyone and hurt them so that they could feel her immeasurable pain. She has also demonstrated the power to cause beings in her vicinity to literally implode, and others farther away to be torn apart or melted. She could teleport short distances, and had the most powerful Force healing that Luke had ever seen. It was also Grandmaster Luke Skywalker who said that Abeloth was easily 12 times his own power as Grand Master. She is a tricky one to place, but we believe that she belongs right on the edge of Tier 3. In Tier 2, we are going to start out with the Force Priestesses, one of the greatest things introduced to us in the Clone Wars TV show. These 5 beings sort of represent the more cosmic aspect of the Force itself. The Priestesses were representative of the connection between the living Force as experienced by living beings, and the cosmic Force in its role in the greater scheme of the universe. Existing within the wellspring of life, the 5 were a form of shapeshifters and would present their forms as serenity, joy, anger, confusion, and sadness. The Force Priestesses carry the knowledge of life after death, and are the ones who teach it to Yoda in Season 6 of the Clone Wars, as well as Qui-Gon Jinn. They tell Yoda that they watch over all of those who are powerful in the Force, and are granted him the gift of life after death as a reward for his role in the training of the one that would influence the outcome of the galaxy. Dave Filoni once stated that he believed that the 5 Priestesses were once one immensely powerful being that died, and achieved life beyond death. splitting herself into 5 beings so as to manifest to the living in a way that they could understand. They lived within the wellspring of life, which was the birthplace of midichlorians and a place that existed between the living as well as the cosmic force in harmony. It is again believed that the priestesses cannot be killed and are eternal beings, which is why we believe that they belong here at Tier 2. Next up, we are going to talk about the deep lore being known as Whitesand, the Force Demon. Whitesand appears only once in classic Star Wars Devil Worlds, and we plan to release a full video about his ancient and nearly unlimited power. To summarize the story of the Force Demon though, Han, Leia, and Chewbacca accidentally stumbled upon a ship in the unknown regions which contained a group of people who simply called themselves the Five. The Five were an evil worshipping cult that had access to many powers of sorcery and used it to torture and kill many different kinds of beings. One of the beings that they were keeping in captivity was a cluster of energy cells that the Five referred to as Whitesand, a Force Demon. According to them, Whitesand and his race of people had been around since the very beginning of the galaxy. Later, when Chewie was escaping, Whitesand communicated telepathically with the Wookiee and requested to be freed. He didn't beg, he didn't command, he simply asked. Against his better judgment, Chewbacca decided to free the being from captivity. Whitesand then proceeded to fly around the ship, killing each of the Five in gruesome ways. Whitesand shredded some while utterly vaporizing others, all while absorbing their very souls into his form so that he could mentally torture them for the rest of eternity. As a move of gratitude, Whitesand allowed Han, Leia, and Chewie to go free. Beyond this one story, there is very little information about the Force Demons or any other of Whitesand's species. I imagine the very beginning of the galaxy was a strange time for all of these supernatural beings, which leads me to our last entry in Tier 2, the Null Null. If you were here when we did our videos on why you should never visit the unknown regions, then you will remember the absolute horrors of this creature. Null Null was an amorphous gray slime that is believed to be an extra-dimensional being in origin. The slime can move quickly and shapeshift to look like simple creatures. It could split its body and travel in worm-like states, or even grow wings to fly. What makes Null Null so deadly though, is what it could do to living organisms. The slime would attack its victim and enter their body wherever through the nose, mouth, or even pores if necessary, after which it would proceed to feast on them from the inside, first digesting their brain and then to the rest of its organs, leaving the victim brittle and a husk. From here, it can completely dominate their body and use it to move around with enough dexterity and precision to even pilot a ship if it needed to. When the body that was currently hosting it rots to the point of uselessness, Null Null will find another host to inhabit, springing towards their face out of the services of another one. The more biological mass it consumes, Null Null will grow in size. With all of this time, its intention is to spread itself across the galaxy until it completely dominates every world. Over the course of its existence, Null Null stakes its claim on thousands of worlds, moons, and space stations throughout the unknown regions. The slime was intelligent and maybe even had a connection with the dark side, as it delighted in torturing and consuming other beings. It actually seemed to thrive more on being sufferings than on the sustenance that their bodies provided. Anyone that spoke to Null Null would find that it had ancient knowledge and could speak many ancient languages long forgotten. It knew of even the events of the dawn of the Jedi Order and told tales of the Ones and the Rakatan Empire. This creature has the potential to absolutely dominate the galaxy and might be the actual reason the Celestials created the hyperspace barrier, as we mentioned previously. And now, finally, we have Tier 1. In Tier 1, we are going to start with something that I feel just justifies this category among the most powerful beings in the entire Star Wars universe. Finally, we get to the one that I know more than a few of you have spoken of before, appearing only once in classic Star Wars Devil Worlds alongside the story with the Five and the Whitesand. We speak of the Bedlam Spirits. The story begins with Leia being chased by some stormtroopers who have tracked her down to a strange moon-like planet, where they stumble upon 4 unique spirits, who may in fact actually be the gods of the Star Wars universe. They speak in the third person, and squabble amongst each other about who is able to create the best things in all of existence itself. The first, who appears as an ethereal green woman calling herself Talanati, brags about how she has literally created time itself, and speaks of throwing a shape, which basically means that she has created literal mass and forms itself, giving herself a body that resembles a humanoid. She squabbles with the other Bedlam spirits nearby, named Holorus, who appears as an amorphous violet shape, who claims that unlike hers, his form has subtlety and treats it like an art form. The third and fourth spirits are black and orange ball of energy named Danda Sine and a pyramidal-shaped object known as the Splendid App. Each of these gods of the Star Wars universe has unimaginable power of creation and control of reality and matter itself, but they argue and quip amongst one another childishly until Leia and the stormtroopers find them by accident. The spirits seem somewhat perplexed by the mortals and refer to them as movers, and trying to figure out which one of the Bedlam spirits were these creatures' creator. Talatani claims that she may have made them, implying that she may have created all humanoid. The Bedlam spirit Horless insults her and calls her talentless for basically replicating the same shape. Talatani tries to correct it and instantly hardens one of the stormtroopers into a crystalline structure. Horless insults her again by saying that everything soft was on the inside of the movers, referring to their organs, and explained to her that it is more how they moved that she found disturbing. In an instant, Talatani just decides that she would correct it by turning Leia's very heart into a diamond. Afterwards, she decides to meld the other two stormtroopers into one being. Obviously, this kills everyone, and the other spirits chide Talatani, saying things like, "Now none of them are moving." They then suddenly get bored and decide to leave, deeming that throwing shapes was now overrated, and they commanded Splendid App to clean up the mess that Talatani left behind. Right as they disappear, Splendid App returns Leia and all of the stormtroopers to their natural form, once again giving them life. The Bedlam spirits might possibly be on a cosmic level that no other being can even dream of, and it's clear that they have full control over matter and reality itself, able to manipulate time and shape it in a way that it almost is second nature to them. Their indifference to time is probably what explains their lack of maturity. However, this possibly makes them all the more dangerous. But their fascination with the art of creation is likely why they either don't care or don't even know about anything going on in the galaxy concerning the Jedi, Sith, or a galactic war. Even Splendid App admitted that concepts such as time and space confused him, so he just didn't seek to bother with them. The next being we want to mention on this tier will of course be the Force itself. As the massive blanket energy of which all beings in Star Wars and its universe draw life and power from, we needed to place this energy in the very top of our list. It might go without saying that the Force itself is the most powerful being in the entire universe, as even the most powerful of beings still adhere to its ways and draw from the energies that it creates. Though we aren't entirely sure about the Bedlam spirits and if they use the Force or not, which is why we place them in the same tier and category. To finish off our list on tier 1, we are going to throw a mention to the Wills. Asking what created what between the Wills and the Force is pretty much a chicken and the egg question. Lucas's original plan was for the Wills that they were essentially going to be the Force itself, but he later scrapped and changed this idea. The ancient order of the Wills still exists in both legends and canon, though we have not actually gotten any more information about them. To summarize, the Wills are actually microscopic spirits of sorts that live and inhabit the midichlorians. The Wills can move from one vessel to another, traveling by the way of the cosmic force. They can speak and influence any creature they desire for the betterment of the Force as they see fit. There is honestly too much about the Wills, and at this time, not enough to discuss here, but we did a video some time back discussing the Wills in full detail, and how they differentiate from the Force itself. So if you want to know about that, be sure to check out our video on the most powerful being in Star Wars. Well, my friends, if you have made it this far into the video, I congratulate you for your wise patience. We know that Star Wars is home to many insanely powerful species, and it is very likely that we might have missed one on this list. However, we tried to make it as cohesive as possible. Also, as a reminder, make sure to comment if you would like to see a video done on the contents of the supernatural encounters, and we'll make a video fully dedicated to that, and the creatures and ethereal spirits introduced there. Until next time, my friends, keep your wits about you, and may the Force be with you.